Welcome on Liberty One Dime. Today, you're about to be taken on an unforgettable journey through the fascinating world of rare coins, numismatic treasure, and the hidden wealth that could be sitting quietly in your pocket, drawer, or change jar right now. We're diving deep into the story of the 1980p Roosevelt dime. That's right, the very same 10-cent piece most people wouldn't look at twice. But as you'll discover, there are certain examples of the 1980p USA dime that are worth not just a few dollars, not even a few thousand, but up to $270,000, and in some exceptional cases, appraisers and collectors believe the value could soar as high as $27 million. Yes, a dime. A simple 10-cent coin with a secret. This is not fiction. This is real numismatic history. A story of a coin minted at the Philadelphia Mint, carrying the letter P as its mint mark, struck in the year 1980. A year that brought us the rise of technology, new politics, shifting economics, and in the coin world, a quietly minted treasure that would later shake the foundations of modern collecting. The 1980p Roosevelt dime isn't just valuable for what it is, it's valuable for what went wrong when it was made. Minting errors, planchet anomalies, die varieties, and a unique series of misprints make this one of the most captivating stories in coin collecting today. To understand just how this little dime could be worth hundreds of thousands or potentially even millions, you first need to know a bit about its background. The Roosevelt dime has been minted since 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt. For decades, it served as a common piece of everyday commerce. In 1980, the dime was part of the modern clad coinage, meaning it was composed of a copper core sandwiched between two layers of nickel. It weighed about 2.27 grams, had a diameter of 17.91 millimeters, and featured the familiar portrait of Roosevelt on the obverse with the torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse. The Philadelphia Mint struck millions of dimes that year, with the P Mint mark returning after being absent for earlier years. In fact, 1980 marked the first time a P Mint mark appeared on the dime for circulation coins. That alone makes the year historically significant in U.S. mint history. Before 1980, coins from Philadelphia typically bore no mint mark at all. So the 1980p dime became a symbol of a new era of accountability and precision in coin production. But as is often the case when transitions occur, things can go wrong. And wrong they did. Among the countless millions of dimes minted that year, a very small number were struck with errors so rare, so subtle, yet so historically important, that they changed the perceived value of the coin forever. The first and most infamous error that contributes to the insane value of certain 1980p dimes is the doubled die variety. A doubled die error occurs when the coin die the steel piece used to imprint the design receives a double image during the hubbing process. This results in a coin that, when struck, appears to have doubled elements in the design. For the 1980p dime, this doubling is most clearly seen in the word Liberty, the date 1980, and the motto I in God we trust. In some extreme examples, you can actually see two separate impressions of these elements, almost like a shadow, but it's not a visual trick. It's a minting error, and it's real. Collectors go crazy for this kind of doubling, especially when the coin is in mint state. The more visible and dramatic the doubling, the more valuable the coin becomes. The most famous example of a 1980p double die dime was graded MS-68 and sold for over $270,000 in a private collector's sale. Because of its unique error and perfect condition, numismatists believe this specific coin could be worth far more in today's market, possibly even up to $27 million if it were to hit an auction block with the right buzz and bidding war. But that's not all. The 1980p dime is also famous for off-metal errors. These are coins struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the wrong blank piece of metal. There are confirmed cases where dimes from 1980 were accidentally struck on penny planchets made of copper, giving the coin a red-brown color and incorrect weight. Others have been found struck on foreign coin planchets that were being produced for other countries at the time. These off-metal errors are extremely rare, sometimes one of a kind, and they send collectors into a frenzy. One such off-metal 1980p dime was discovered during a routine roll hunt and ended up selling for more than $100,000 after grading and authentication. The story doesn't stop there. Another exciting class of error is the misaligned die strike. This happens when the dies are not properly aligned, resulting in the obverse or reverse being shifted from its normal position. These coins often look bizarre. Part of the image is cut off, the design appears slanted or off-center. When the date and mint mark are still visible and the coin is in good condition, the value can skyrocket. A dramatic misalignment on a 1980p dime once sold for over $10,000. And keep in mind, that was not even in pristine condition. Cut errors, die cracks, and die chips are also common topics among collectors of the 1980p dime. These errors occur when a part of the die breaks or deteriorates, creating raised blobs, cracks, or odd marks on the coin. While not as valuable as the more dramatic planchet or doubling errors, these pieces still hold significant collector interest. A dime with a large cut at the rim or a lightning-like die crack across Roosevelt's face could fetch several $1,000s, especially if it's a clear, bold strike. There are even examples of edge errors. Dimes are supposed to have reeded edges, those fine grooves that circle the coin. But some 1980p dimes were discovered with smooth edges or partially missing reeding. In many cases, these errors were created by improperly prepared planchets or malfunctioning machinery. Depending on the severity and uniqueness, these edge error coins can command a few hundred to several $1,000s. Now let's shift focus to the holy grail of numismatics, the unknown. There's a very real possibility that other, as yet undiscovered varieties of the 1980p dime exist. With millions produced, even a single unnoticed anomaly, an unlisted die variety, a rare off-center strike with a visible date, a deep cameo finish error, or a mismatched die pair could send shockwaves through the collecting world. And that's what makes this coin so special. It's not just the confirmed rare examples. It's the possibility of finding more. Treasure hunters, roll searchers, estate sale browsers, and everyday people across America are constantly on the lookout. Many don't even know what they're looking at until someone else points it out. One collector found a valuable 1980p dime in an old coin jar inherited from a relative. Another pulled one from a machine-wrapped roll purchased from a bank. These aren't stories from decades ago, these are recent, real, and ongoing. The hunt is still very much alive. If you're wondering what to look for, start simple. Get a magnifying glass. Examine every 1980 dime you come across. Look at the date, the lettering, the edge, the weight, and the color. Compare it to a known example. If something looks odd, off, or unfamiliar, set it aside and research it. Join online forums, check coin auction databases, or even take it to a local coin dealer. And if it looks truly special, consider having it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. They'll not only confirm its authenticity but also assign a condition grade that can significantly affect its market value. Even if your dime isn't worth millions, finding an error coin worth a few thousand is an incredible thrill. And you never know, you might be the next person to find a piece of history hiding in plain sight. The 1980p Roosevelt dime is a reminder that sometimes, the smallest things can hold the greatest value. It shows us that even in the most common places, in spare change, in coin rolls, in forgotten boxes, extraordinary treasures are waiting to be found. Thank you for joining us here on Liberty One Dime as we explored one of the most fascinating coins in American numismatic history. If you enjoyed this journey into the secrets, history, and unbelievable value of the 1980p dime, make sure to subscribe for more stories just like this. Share this video with friends, family, and fellow collectors, because you never know who might be holding on to a hidden gem. Until next time, stay curious, keep searching, and always remember, true treasure might be no bigger than the change in your hand. My great fellow, now, we're diving deep into a mysterious, exciting, and absolutely fascinating tale from the world of rare coins, a story that could turn a simple 10-cent piece into a jaw-dropping fortune. Yes, we're talking about the 1983p Roosevelt dime. A coin so often overlooked, so quietly forgotten in pockets and change jars, yet with some rare examples valued as high as $250,000 and in the minds of collectors, possibly even more. That's right, a 1983p dime that some experts estimate could reach a market value of $25 million in certain private transactions due to its rarity, historical relevance, minting errors, and collector demand. This isn't just about metal and mint marks. This is about what happens when an ordinary coin becomes an extraordinary piece of history. It's a story of rare anomalies, impossible odds, misprints, and minting mistakes that have given the 1983 P dime its legendary status among numismatists and coin hunters worldwide. So grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and prepare yourself for the full story behind one of the most astonishing coins the U.S. Mint ever released. Let's take a step back to 1983, a pivotal year in U.S. history. Ronald Reagan was in office, the Cold War was still simmering, personal computers were just beginning to make their way into American homes, and inflation was still a concern. At the U.S. Mint, millions of coins were being produced daily to keep up with the needs of a growing, dynamic economy. The Roosevelt dime, first introduced in 1946, continued to be the standard 10-cent coin. By 1983, the design remained unchanged, the familiar portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse, the torch flanked by olive and oak branches on the reverse, representing liberty, peace, and strength. But here's where the story takes a turn. While the design and composition of the coin were standard, a copper core clad in a layer of nickel, the actual minting process at the Philadelphia Mint produced a few coins that would later become the subject of intense fascination and value. Unlike coins from Denver and San Francisco, Philadelphia's coins in earlier years didn't carry a mint mark. But starting in 1980, the P Mint mark began to appear on dimes struck at the Philadelphia Mint. By 1983, that mark was standard. But what wasn't standard were the errors that slipped through quality control during production. The first major reason the 1983 P dime is so valuable lies in the variety of errors discovered on a very limited number of coins. Mint errors are among the most sought-after characteristics by collectors, especially when they are extreme, visible, and rare. One of the most notable and valuable errors found on a 1983 P dime is the double die obverse. A double die occurs during the hubbing process when the design is being impressed into the die and the impression is made twice, but slightly misaligned. This creates a noticeable doubling effect, especially visible in the words Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date 1983. Some examples show dramatic, crisp doubling that can be seen with the naked eye, making them especially valuable. Collectors treasure strong double die coins not only for their rarity but also for their eye appeal. When one of these 1983 P double die dimes appeared in a major auction, it created a bidding war and ended up selling for over $180,000. Experts believe that if one were found in pristine mint state, or even proof-like condition, the bidding could easily go into the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, especially if it had exceptional provenance or was a previously unknown variety. Then there's the mystery of the off-metal strike. In a very small number of cases, a 1983 P dime has been discovered struck on a planchet intended for a different coin like a Lincoln cent. This gives the dime a reddish hue and reduces its weight, making it immediately unusual to anyone paying attention. Striking a dime design on a cent planchet not only changes the appearance but also alters the size and detail of the coin. Because these types of errors are so rare, and because they are the result of a mistake that could only occur at the very moment of striking, they are incredibly desirable in the numismatic community. There's even more to discover. Some 1983 P dimes have surfaced with partial collars, a striking error where the collar die that forms the edge of the coin fails to fully surround the planchet. This can result in a coin with a slightly wider edge or a misshapen rim. While subtle to the average person, coin experts recognize this as a significant error that can multiply the value of a coin, especially if it's combined with another anomaly like doubling or a die crack. One of the most dramatic and rarest types of errors in any coin, and yes, it appears in some 1983 P dimes, is the off-center strike. This occurs when the planchet isn't perfectly centered under the dies during the striking process. The result is a coin where part of the design is missing and the blank part of the planchet remains visible. Off-center strikes are graded based on how far off the strike is and whether or not the date is still visible. For example, a 1983 P dime that's 60% off-center but still shows the full date could sell for tens of thousands of dollars, especially in mint state. But it doesn't stop there. Another reason why the 1983 P dime is so incredibly valuable has to do with the coin's condition. Like all collectible coins, condition is king. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a flawless, mint state coin. A 1983 p dime graded MS67 or MS68 is already considered rare. But one in MS69 or, in the most unlikely scenario, MS70. That would be a 1 in a billion find. Coins of this age simply don't survive in such pristine condition, especially not those that entered circulation. That's why uncirculated examples often pulled directly from mint sets or found in long-lost rolls can command astronomical prices. Imagine finding a 1983 p dime with a dramatic error, struck off center, featuring a bold double die, and in MS68 condition. Now imagine that coin has a mirror-like finish and near-perfect luster. That coin wouldn't just be rare, it would be legendary. And it could very well be the one valued by collectors, investors, and museums at over $25 million. But let's not forget about the more subtle and lesser-known errors that also contribute to a coin's value. Die cracks and die breaks visible as raised lines or blobs of metal are another type of mint error that collectors love. When these imperfections occur in unique patterns, like across Roosevelt's face or through the torch design on the reverse, they can form recognizable features that turn into nicknamed varieties. Some of these varieties become so popular that they get listed in major coin catalogs and price guides. There's also something poetic about how these coins are discovered. Most aren't found in auctions or dealer collections. They're found by ordinary people, folks who are paying attention. Someone searching through a bankroll, someone going through old family change, or even someone who simply decided to look a little closer at the coins in their tip jar. That's the beauty of coin collecting. It's one of the last great treasure hunts that anyone can participate in. You don't need special tools. You don't need thousands of dollars to start. All you need is curiosity, patience, and attention to detail. The 1983 p dime is still out there. Not all of them have been found. And with the knowledge you have now, you might just be the next person to uncover a coin that could change your life. So what should you look for? Start with the basics. Check the date, 1983. Then look for the P mint mark, indicating it was struck in Philadelphia. Examine the coin carefully under bright light or with a magnifying glass. Look for any signs of doubling in the letters or numbers. Check for color differences. Does it look copper instead of silver? Weigh the coin if you can. A standard dime should weigh around 2.27 grams. If it's significantly lighter or heavier, you might have an off-metal strike. Look at the edge. Does it have reading? Is the edge smooth or irregular? Even if you're not sure what you're looking at, you can still make use of the incredible resources available today. There are online forums filled with experts and fellow collectors who would love to help you identify a rare find. You can compare your coin to images in error coin catalogs or send it in for professional grading and authentication. The best part is, every coin you check gets you one step closer to that once-in-a-lifetime discovery. So what is the real legacy of the 1983 p Roosevelt dime? It's not just about the money though, let's be honest. $250,000 or more is certainly a great reason to be excited. It's about history, mystery, and discovery. It's about how something so small can carry so much significance. It's about keeping your eyes open in a world where most people rush past the little things. And it's about the thrill of finding value in places others overlook. Thank you for joining us on Liberty One Dime. We hope this deep dive into the incredible story and potential value of the 1983 p dime has inspired you to look a little closer at your change. Now at the end history, we're going deep into one of the most intriguing and underrated coins in modern U.S. history. This is a story that blends history, mystery, and unexpected fortune. We're talking about the 1995 p Roosevelt dime, a 10-cent piece that has stunned collectors with its hidden errors, rare varieties, and high-value surprises. While millions of these coins were minted for circulation, only a handful have become numismatic legends. Some rare examples have fetched as much as $220,000 in private sales, and experts believe that if the right specimen surfaces, the bidding could easily reach an astonishing $22 million due to the unique characteristics and near impossible condition combinations collectors are dying to get their hands on. The The 1995 P dime is not just a small piece of metal, it's a living reminder of how something so ordinary can hold extraordinary value. This is not just about a coin, it's about discovery, attention to detail, and the thrill of realizing that treasure might be hiding right under your nose. Let's start by looking at the basics. The 1995 Roosevelt dime was minted at the Philadelphia Mint, as shown by the P Mint mark on the obverse side of the coin. Over 1 billion of these dimes were struck that year. To the average person, one 1995 dime looks just like any other. It's lightweight, made of copper nickel clad over a copper core, and features the familiar face of Franklin D. Roosevelt on the front with the torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. But among those billions of coins, a very few were struck with remarkable errors, rare die varieties, or superior strike quality that transformed them into treasures. One of the main reasons the 1995 P dime is so talked about in numismatic circles is the existence of error coins and rare variants that slip through quality control unnoticed. It's in those rare imperfections that value is found. One such category of errors is the double die variety. A double die occurs when the die itself receives a double image during the hubbing process. When this flawed die is used to strike coins, the resulting coins carry doubled images in key design elements. For the 1995 P dime, there are known examples with significant doubling in the inscriptions such as Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date 1995. These coins are a collector's dream. Depending on the boldness of the doubling and the condition of the coin, their value ranges from hundreds to thousands of dollars. One exceptional MS-68 graded example featuring prominent doubling sold for over $35,000, and that's without factoring in private negotiations where the buyer and seller believed the coin could fetch even more due to its rarity. Now, imagine combining a double die with another error such as an off-center strike or a full bands designation. That's where things get serious. Off-center errors occur when the coin is not properly aligned between the obverse and reverse dies during the striking process. This results in a coin where the design is shifted, often leaving part of the surface blank. A 1995 P dime that is off-center by 40 to 60%, but still shows a readable date and mint mark, instantly becomes rare. If it's also in mint state condition, meaning it shows no wear and still has full luster, its value skyrockets. Off-center coins from this era, when combined with other visual errors or full strike features, have been appraised at upwards of $50,000 or more. Now let's talk about full bands, one of the most subtle but powerful elements in dime collecting. The torch on the reverse side of the Roosevelt dime features two sets of horizontal bands. On a normal strike, these bands often appear weak or merge due to die wear or improper striking pressure. But on a coin with a particularly sharp, high-quality strike, these bands appear fully separated and well-defined. Collectors refer to this as the full bands or FB designation. For coins from the 1990s, especially from the Philadelphia Mint, getting a full bands designation is rare. The dies used for circulation coins were not carefully maintained to produce such precision. So when a 1995 P dime is discovered with full bands and it's in pristine, mint state condition, it becomes a high-demand piece. In auctions, such coins have reached values over $100,000, and some dealers have reported private bids exceeding $200,000. A full bands 1995 P dime graded MS-68 or higher would be almost unheard of. If it carried additional errors or visual abnormalities, it could theoretically push the coin into the multi-million-dollar range, especially with the documented provenance. And then there's the lesser-known but equally exciting class of transitional errors and off-metal strikes. Though not officially a transitional year for the dime, some planchets from previous years or different coin denominations occasionally end up used mistakenly. A 1995 P dime struck on a foreign coin planchet, or even on a cent planchet resulting in a coin that weighs less or shows strange coloration, would be an incredibly rare anomaly. There are recorded examples of 1990s era dimes struck on 5-cent or 1-cent planchets, each one a numismatic oddity that instantly attracts high-end collectors. Even more subtle are the die cracks, die chips, and strike-through errors. A die crack creates raised lines on the coin's surface where the die itself has fractured. A die chip is a small area on the coin where metal fills a broken section of the die, resulting in a blob or raised bump. Strike-through errors occur when a foreign object like grease or debris comes between the die and the planchet, causing the design to be partially obscured or altered. While these might not always bring 5 or 6-figure values, they are still significant to collectors and can bring in hundreds to thousands of dollars, depending on clarity and rarity. Now let's talk about condition, because condition is everything in coin collecting. A coin graded MS-60 might be worth a few dollars. The same coin, graded MS-68 or MS-69, could be worth thousands or tens of thousands. The highest known grades of the 1995 P dime are extremely scarce. PCGS and NGC have only certified a handful of MS-68 examples with full bands and other features. The population is extremely low, meaning only a few exist in the entire world. These are the coins that break auction records. These are the coins that sell in high-end collector networks where money is no object, and rarity is everything. Even more exciting is the possibility of an undiscovered variety or error that hasn't been cataloged yet. That's the heart of what makes coins like the 1995 P Roosevelt dime so exciting. It's not just about what we know, it's about what we don't know. Somewhere, sitting in a change jar, a forgotten drawer, a bank roll, or an inherited coin collection, there could be a 1995 P dime with a one-of-a-kind error. A coin so visually striking and historically unique that collectors would pay millions to own it. Imagine a proof-like 1995 P dime with a double die obverse, full bands reverse, off-metal strike, and near-perfect MS-69 or MS-70 condition. Such a coin would not just be rare, it would be legendary. And if it were authenticated and entered into a major auction, the price could hit $22 million or more, depending on market demand, publicity, and buyer interest. And the best part: that coin could still be out there, waiting, hiding, quietly blending in with the rest. So, how can you find out if you have one? Start with what you already have. Search your coin jars. Look through your pocket change. Pay attention at the store. If you spot a 1995 Roosevelt dime, check for the P mint mark. Examine it closely under a bright light or with a magnifying glass. Look for unusual doubling, off-center designs, misaligned elements, strange colors, or strong full-band details. If anything looks odd, compare it with verified images online or consult with a professional coin dealer. And if the coin looks promising, consider submitting it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC for evaluation. Their certification and grading can mean the difference between a dime worth 10 cents and one worth hundreds of thousands or more. Numismatics isn't just a hobby. It's a passion, a treasure hunt, a living history lesson, and in some rare cases a life-changing discovery. The 1995 P dime teaches us not to overlook the small, everyday things. Because in the details, in the errors, in the quiet imperfections, that's where the magic lives. So next time you hear that soft clink of a dime falling into your hand, take a moment. Look a little closer. Because that tiny piece of metal might just be worth a fortune. Thank you for joining us on Liberty One Dime. We hope this in-depth journey into the fascinating world of the 1995 P Roosevelt dime has sparked your curiosity, and maybe even inspired you to go check your spare change. Don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and share it with your fellow collectors, friends, and anyone who loves hidden treasures and unexpected stories. You never know who might be holding on to a coin worth millions. My lovely and very important fellows, now in the third history we're diving into an incredible and mind-blowing story of a coin that's worth far more than most people would ever believe. This isn't just a story about a dime, it's a story about a hidden treasure. A coin minted in 1996 at the Denver Mint, bearing the D Mint mark, and quietly carrying a mystery that has fascinated collectors for years. A coin with a face value of just 10 cents, but in some cases has been appraised at more than $210,000. Yes, that's right. The 1996 D Roosevelt dime, a coin that millions of people have spent, dropped, or ignored without a second thought, is now making headlines for being a potential goldmine hiding in plain sight. The current known examples with rare attributes and minting anomalies are fetching high figures, and many experts believe that with the right combination of errors and pristine condition, a specimen could easily command an eye-watering $21 million in a high-stakes private auction or through intense collector bidding. So how does a regular-looking dime end up becoming one of the most desirable modern coins in U.S. numismatic history? Let's set the stage. The year is 1996. Bill Clinton is president. The internet is starting to change the way the world communicates. DVDs are becoming the new format for entertainment. And in Denver, Colorado, the United States Mint is striking billions of coins for commerce, including the Roosevelt dime. Now, the Roosevelt dime has been in circulation since 1946. It features President Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse and a torch with olive and oak branches on the reverse, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. The 1996 dime was part of a massive coin production year. Over 1.4 billion dimes were struck at the Denver Mint alone. But here's where things get interesting. Within those 1.4 billion dimes, a small number were minted with errors, anomalies, and features so rare, they became legends in the coin collecting world. One of the most sought-after versions of the 1996 dime is the full bands variety. Now, to the casual observer, the reverse of the Roosevelt dime doesn't look that complicated. But to a trained eye, one small detail makes all the difference: the horizontal bands that wrap around the torch. On most coins, these bands appear faint or slightly merged due to weak strikes or worn dies. But on some rare coins, the strike is so sharp and detailed that the upper and lower horizontal bands are fully separated, distinct, and crisp. This is known as full bands or FB in grading terms. The full bands designation is extremely rare on modern dimes, especially from the 1990s, and especially from the Denver Mint, where coins were struck for circulation with speed and quantity prioritized over fine detail. Finding a 1996 dime with full bands in mint state, especially in MS67 or higher, is like finding a needle in a haystack. And if it also carries additional errors, the value can skyrocket beyond all expectations. Now let's talk about minting errors, those beautiful, accidental features that can turn a common coin into a fortune. The 1996 dime is no stranger to dramatic errors. One of the most valuable types of errors is the off-center strike. In a typical minting process, the blank coin planchet is perfectly centered between the obverse and reverse dies to ensure the design is evenly pressed onto the coin. But if the planchet is misaligned, the resulting strike can leave part of the coin blank and part of the design shifted to the side. The most valuable off-center coins are those where the date and mint mark are still visible. A 1996 dime that is 50 to 80% off-center, with visible date and mint mark, in mint state, could easily sell for thousands, possibly tens of thousands. Another stunning error is the double die. This occurs when the die itself receives a double impression of the design, resulting in visible doubling on the final coin. Collectors hunt especially for doubling on the words Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date 1996. Doubling that is bold and easy to see without magnification can send the value of a dime into the five-figure range instantly. There are rumors in collector circles of an extremely bold double die 1996 dime that was never publicly auctioned but exchanged hands privately for over $150,000. If that coin were graded MS68 or better, and made available to the public, it could easily bring in $21 million or more from a collector or institution wanting to own a modern-day numismatic legend. Then we have transitional errors. Transitional errors occur when a coin is struck on a planchet intended for a different metal composition or design standard. For example, coins struck in the transition years between different metal compositions like copper to zinc for pennies, or silver to clad for dimes and quarters are often more prone to these errors. Although the 1996 dime wasn't in a known transitional year, mistakes still happen. Some 1996 dimes have been reported with strange colorations, weight discrepancies, or composition inconsistencies suggesting the possibility of off-metal strikes. A 1996 dime struck on a foreign coin planchet, for example, would not only be rare but potentially one of a kind. That kind of discovery is the dream of every roll hunter and coin collector, and it could fetch hundreds of thousands, if not millions. Let's also talk about the condition. In the coin world, grade is everything. Most coins you find in circulation have dings, scratches, and where that drop their values significantly. But a 1996 dime found in mint state condition, especially in grades MS67, MS68, or MS69, is incredibly rare. The population of high-grade examples is so low that when one comes up for auction, collectors jump at the chance to bid. Combine that condition with a known mint error like a double die or off-center strike, and now you're dealing with an elite tier coin. Now, what about coins that were never meant for circulation at all? In 1996, the U.S. Mint also produced special collector sets, including proof and mint sets. These coins were struck with more care, using polished dies and planchets to ensure a better finish. Occasionally, coins intended for these sets were mistakenly released into circulation or struck with errors. A 1996 proof like or satin finished dime with an error could be a once-in-a-lifetime find. Imagine a proof quality error coin, with full bands, bold doubling, and perfect luster. It would be so rare that it might never be duplicated. If discovered and authenticated, it could spark international attention in the numismatic world and reach prices in the multi-million-dollar range. And then there's the thrill of the unknown. That's what makes the 1996 dime so exciting. It's not just the known errors and varieties that give it value, it's the possibility that there's more out there. Coins that haven't yet been discovered. Errors that have gone unnoticed for years. Rare varieties hiding in dusty drawers, old coffee cans, coin rolls, and forgotten piggy banks. Some of the most valuable coins in history were discovered by everyday people. Not dealers. Not experts. But regular folks who decided to take a closer look at their change. So when you're sorting through your pocket change, don't just brush past that dime. Stop and check. Look at the date. Look for the D mint mark. Look closely at the edges, the design, the lettering. Check for doubling. Check for off-center strikes. Weigh it if you can. Compare it to other dimes. If something feels different, it probably is. And if it is, you could be holding a small piece of American history that's worth a life-changing amount of money. Let's not forget, the market is hot. Rare coins have been breaking records year after year. Collectors are constantly looking to complete their sets, acquire the next rarity, and discover coins no one else owns. That competition drives prices up, and if you happen to be the person with a rare 1996 dime, the sky is the limit. So, what have we learned? The 1996 dime, while common in appearance, holds immense potential in its rare forms. From full bands varieties to double die obverse, off-metal strikes, off-center errors, and even one-of-a-kind transitional errors, this little coin has captured the imagination of coin collectors everywhere. With some examples already selling for over $100,000 and whispers of private sales suggesting valuations of $210,000 or more, the possibility of a single specimen reaching $21 million is not as far-fetched as it sounds. This is more than a coin. It's a story. A mystery. A piece of modern American history wrapped in copper and nickel. So next time you get a handful of change, take a closer look. The next great discovery might be hiding right in the palm of your hand. Thank you for joining us on Liberty One Dime. If you enjoyed this journey into the world of the 1996 Roosevelt dime, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and share it with your fellow collectors, friends, and anyone who loves a great mystery. There are still treasures out there, and one of them might be waiting for you.